Hey, what's up guys? So welcome to today's video. Today we are going to see how we can make a simple light system. As you can see here, I have a mini scene setup. I have a light switch, and if I click on it, as you can see, the lights are turned off, and if I click on them again, it turns on. And this actually is saved during play state, so if I were to quit and re-enter the game, as you can probably see, you'll see that it turns on. As you can see, and if I were to turn it off, then it should turn off right now. As you can see, it's turned off. So yeah, let's take a look at the scene setup before moving on to the actual script behind it. Alright, so as for the scene, we've got our lights here. Here it is. So we've got our lights. Each one is a prefab, and if we open one of the prefabs, we can see that we have a game object for the actual light object. Here it is. This is our light object, and then this has a parent because I have an emissive texture to make it look like it's emitting light. Okay, so then we have the light bulbs script, which contains a group ID. This allows us to, for instance, let's say you have different rooms and you've got different switches for each room, then group ID will allow you to assign one switch to a couple of light bulbs. And then this is not something that we'll take into consideration for this video, but if you wanted to have an electric bill, then you can have these two variables set. And then we have a reference to the actual light object as we just saw. And as for the actual light switch, if we were to zoom in on it, this again is another prefab. If we were to open it, we have the electrical switch script, which contains a pref name. This allows it to save its state during runtime. So for instance, if you turned it on, you exit the game and you re-enter, it will be on. And then again we have the group ID, which has to match with the lights. And then we've got two variables for the on and off switch, because right now what I'm doing is I'm basically turning on and off the actual game object to represent the switch changes. But of course you can have it differently if you want, but the logic stays the same. And then we have a simple boolean that keeps track of whether or not it's on or off. So now let's move on to the script. So here is the electrical switch script. This contains a delegate with the group ID and a boolean to indicate whether or not it actually is on or off, called onSwitchFlipped. And then we have the variables that we saw in the editor. On void start, we try and fetch the last state that our light switch was at. So for instance, if we set it on, it will get that. However, as you can notice, I did set 0 as default. You can, if you want, have another variable that dictates the default state of your switch, but this is only used if the player has just downloaded the game for the first time and we have no PlayerPrefs set yet. And then we just refresh the visual on start. This basically toggles on and off the on and off switch game objects based on whether or not we are on or off. And then it invokes the delegate onSwitchFlipped using the appropriate IDs and values. And the void toggle basically just toggles on and off our switch, and again we just go refresh visual and it sets the PlayerPref to whichever state we are on. Moving on to the light bulb. The light bulb switch is quite simple. It only has a reference to the actual light game object, and then we have in void on awake. We subscribe to the onSwitchFlipped event delegate from electrical switch. On void destroy, we unsubscribe, and then we have a void called onSwitchFlipped, which has the same signature as the delegate. And if it is on, we set our lights to on, and if it is off, we just turn off the light. So if you followed everything carefully, then you should be able to have a fully working light system. and this can work with all kinds of lights. You can have different models if you want, and for different rooms. And also this could technically be extended to support other kinds of stuff, not necessarily just lights. But let's say you have perhaps an oven, alright, and this has a light on in the oven to indicate whether or not it's on or off. You could technically repurpose this switch here to act as an oven switch. So this is quite flexible. If you want me to make more tutorials on how we can extend this script right there, do let me know in the comments section down below. So if you guys enjoyed today's video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you have not already, and I'll see you guys next one. Bye.